It's still such a great feeling that the Boozer twins decided they wanted to continue their basketball playing days with the Duke Blue Devils and join the Brotherhood. What's next, though, for Duke basketball on the recruiting trail, and just how big of a win is it to have the Boozers on board? All of that on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils.
You are Locked On Blue Devils, your daily podcast on the Duke Blue Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into another episode of the Locked On Blue Devils podcast. My name is JJ Jackson. Thank you so much for being here with us on Tuesday, October 15th, 2024. Locked On Blue Devils is your one-stop shop where we discuss everything going on in the life of Duke athletics. We've got a big focus this time of year about the start of the basketball season. Duke football coming off of their bye week. They've got 6 weeks remaining on their schedule. So a lot going on in the world of Duke athletics, and we like keeping you updated on all of that and more here on the program. If you have not done so already, please be sure to follow and subscribe to Locked On Blue Devils for free, wherever it is that you get your podcasts. Be sure to leave us a 5-star rating and written review on the Apple Podcast platform in particular. The algorithms love all those written reviews, and I like giving out 5-star Friday shout-outs for folks who leave us those 5-star reviews on our Friday episodes of Locked On Blue Devils. Also, watch us each and every day on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, like this video, and share it with your friends. Again, on today's show, our good friend Brandon Jenkins, a national recruiting insider from 247 Sports, is back with us on the program today. We're going to talk about the Boozer twins and some other storylines coming up in the world of Duke recruiting. Follow us on X at LO_Blue Devils, and I'm there as well at _JJ_Jackson_. Enough from me. Let's bring on our very special guest here in today's show. And joining us on the program is our guy, Brandon Jenkins from 247 Sports. Hey, man, we're getting closer to the start of basketball season, as you and I were just talking. It's a great time of year, dude.
No, absolutely. I'm really excited for all the action. I think these coaches have been, giving into their players throughout the whole fall off season. So I'm excited to see what product comes to light when the season starts.
Thanks to you, and thanks to all the time that you've spent with me here on the show. We've been talking a whole lot over the course of the summer months about, dude, what in the world is going on in high school recruiting? It is taking forever for these guys to make a decision that they want to be a part of whatever college program that may be. All of a sudden, over the last few weeks, as it feels like we're getting closer to the start of the high school basketball season, more and more recruits are making their college decisions.
Absolutely. I think for the longest, we were waiting on the Boozer twins to commit because I think we knew that the dominoes would start, the domino effect would start from there. And so just with them getting their decisions over with, I think we're gaining a little bit more clarity on what these dudes are going to do from a national perspective. But it's always easier. It always makes my job easier when these dudes start to commit. So it's good that those first two dominoes started to fall.
Yeah, without a doubt. And we're happy that it went in Duke's favor. The Boozer twins decide they want to continue playing for the Brotherhood. From the outside looking in, so many people would assume where their dad is this great legendary player for Duke basketball. He wins the national championship for the Blue Devils in 2001. He is repping Duke his entire life all across the board. You might think this was a slam dunk. This was really easy that Cameron and Cayden Boozer would end up playing for the Blue Devils. But from the guys that are in there on the inner circle like yourself, you know that very much so was not the case, that this really was some hard work that Jon Scheyer and his staff had to put out there.
No, absolutely. I think our Travis Brandon mentioned it best. They weren't perceived as the leader, and the staff knew that they had to work hard for it. I know earlier on it was Miami and Florida that were giving them, problems in terms of landing them, and then Florida, kind of faded away, and then it became Duke and Miami. And credit to Jon Scheyer, Jay Lucas, and the rest of the staff. I mean, they did a great job of getting this one done. From a personal perspective for me, I know I was previously on this podcast and I said I wouldn't bet against the Blue Devils, and it turned out to be correct. But yeah, it was hard for them. But at the end of the day, like I said, I would not bet against Duke when it comes, for a challenge for somebody that they really want. They saw two legacy dudes that they had to go get, and they prioritized them and got the job done.
Like, how big of a deal is this in terms of what these guys will be able to do on the basketball floor? Maybe start with Cameron first, and then your thoughts on Cayden.
Yeah, Cameron, the #1 player in the 2025 class until AJ DeBancer reclass. But, nevertheless, he still is one of the more reliable and consistently productive dudes in this class. 3-time EYBL champion on each age division. I think that's something that we'll never see again. And if so, credits to the dude in the future who can do that. But we're talking about a winner, somebody who's consistently productive. He can really shoot the basketball, score from the mid-range with regularity, and also hit trail threes. He's an amazing passer. His ability to outlet pass, draws favorable comparisons to Kevin Love. Terrific rebounder. He plays with a great motor, and he just does a bunch of things that can help a team win. And he does so in a skilled way. He's a very skilled prospect. So, he'll be able to step in, make an immediate impact, and play with other great players because he's just reliably efficient and reliably productive.
Excited to see how he fits into that front court for Duke. It's a safe assumption that Cooper Flagg will not be returning next season as he's bound for the NBA. Same could be said for Kamen Maluach. But Duke in the front court possibly has Malik Brown returning for another year next season. And then Patton Gamba II, currently injured for the Blue Devils. But if he sticks around for his sophomore season, that's a pretty good front court. But it seems like Cameron Boozer is of the skill set, is of the talent to be able to walk in right away and start for the Duke basketball team.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, Cooper Flagg and Kaman Mulak, they're sorry if I botched that name.
Many people do. Yeah, I still don't have confidence in it.
No, absolutely. But yeah, they're expected to go one and done. But Cameron Boozer will definitely pick right where they left off. And, he'll do it in his own way. Cooper Flagg, somebody who's a two-way dude who, can produce on both ends. Kaman Mulak, his defense is way ahead of his offense. Cameron Boozer has his own style of play where he's very fundamentally sound in his approach. He'll do so with rebounding the basketball. Somebody that, Jon Scheyer can run his offense through, from that four-man position, and even sometimes playing the five if they want to go small ball. So like I said, fundamentally sound dude, takes an all-business approach, and he's very team-oriented. So this is a guy that can help, Duke hopefully make another run at a national championship.
All right, and then he's got his twin brother as well, Cayden Boozer, who joins the Brotherhood. He'll be a part of next year's squad. What does it mean for Duke that Cayden Boozer will be playing basketball for the Blue Devils next season?
Yeah, Cayden Boozer, a big guard, pushing 6'5", very burly, strong frame. This is a dude who's improved each year he's been at the high school level. He has a tremendous feel for the game, just knows how to get the ball where it needs to be and get the most out of his teammates. Now, we talk about Cameron Boozer, being the number 2 player in the class of 2025. Cayden is ranked in the top 25, but he doesn't project to have the same path line that his brother does. I think we could see him staying in the college realm for, multiple years, but he has positional size, great feel for the game. And as his jumper comes along, we can see his production increase and see him maximize his potential, as a Blue Devil.
Yeah, his assist numbers when you're looking at it at the high school level and then what he did on the EYBL seems like just the absolute kind of set your teammates up and doesn't go for his shot too frequently, but obviously is capable of doing those things. Seems like he really does enjoy kind of getting other folks involved.
Absolutely. And when you can do it at that size, that just makes you more marketable as a prospect. I think the thing that, people usually love his ability to get his teammates involved and his ability to thread the needle with his passing. But my favorite thing about him is his positional size. Like if you walk up on him, this dude is a really big guard. Everybody wants to call themselves big guards, but this dude truly embodies it. And I think he has upside because of that. And so I'm interested to see how his game evolves. And like I said, if his jumper can catch up to, his ability to find his teammates, I think we're talking about a special prospect long term.
Without a doubt, the Boozer twins commit to Duke basketball. It's a big get for Jon Scheyer and his staff. A little bit more on that and the targets that could be next for Duke basketball after we take our first time out here on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils. Locked On Blue Devils here today is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. FanDuel, of course, is America's #1 sports book. And NFL fans, you could start the season with a big return on FanDuel. When you get in the hunch in the middle of the game, maybe it was last night during that Monday Night Football game between the Jets and the Bills, you can go to FanDuel and check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and do so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel is a proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. Okay, Brandon Jenkins is back here with us of 247 Sports. We're talking about Duke basketball recruiting. The Boozer twins are on board. As we get to the conversation in regards to what's next, I'm curious how involved the Boozer twins might be in some of this, Brandon, in terms of it feels like over the last decade plus, your first commits really spearheaded your efforts into adding more players to the class and that sort of thing. But in the age of the transfer portal, NIL, one and done, all of these things moving all over the place, are we moving away from that trend? Does it feel like everybody's recruitment becomes a little bit more individualized, or does it feel like there could be high school players out there that are trying to kind of recruit their friends out there on the circuits to play college basketball together?
Yeah, you know, they have set the tone for the recruiting class, but when it comes to them specifically, I feel like the Boozer twins' friends are themselves. You know, yeah. They're twin brothers.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know, if the staff has dudes that they want to go after, I'm pretty sure that there will be communication where they will run it by them. And the Boozer twins, you know, strike me as unselfish players. They added Caleb Wilson, you know, to the Night Riders, a top 10 prospect in the class, and they seem to do well with him jumping on board in the middle of the grassroots season. So, you know, they seem like like I said, they seem like very team-oriented guys. And so, yeah, I think that they will be selfless in the way that they, you know, approach other Duke targets so they can finalize their class. But, you know, to answer your question, in national basketball recruiting in its entirety, yes, it is very individualized. I know players are worried about themselves, trying to, you know, market their worth and try to get the most out of they can from an NIL perspective as possible. But the Boozer twins, they strike me like they have a different approach, and you know, they know what's at stake, you know, committing to the Duke Blue Devils and, you know, what it takes to, you know, get this thing rolling.
Without a doubt. Yeah. It feels like it's every year it's getting more and more different, but as long as, hey, Duke is at the top of the rankings, we're all okay with that. And they're off to a good start getting the Boozer twins. So who's next? We've had this conversation with you in the last few weeks and in the months prior. And I think Shelton Henderson is a good place for us to start, a name that we've discussed frequently and someone that you've got a really good story up over at 247sports.com. Got a chance to catch up with Shelton himself. What type of player is this that Duke is targeting?
Yeah, I got a chance to catch up with him in Colorado Springs. He was there competing with the older division at the USA Basketball's October minicamp. And we got a chance to chop it up because he recently cut his list down to 3 schools, with Duke being included, the other 2 schools being Texas and Louisville. And as far as what he said in the interview, it seems like he's on par to make an early November decision. I think Duke is in the lead for this one, but Texas and Louisville are not going away without a fight. But with Duke, you know, you have that connection to Jay Lucas. You know, Shelton mentioned how he bonded with the staff on his visit and enjoyed his time listening to what Scheyer had to pitch in terms of, you know, what he sees from him as a player. And, you know, when you talk about Shelton Henderson's game and how it's, you know, wired to, you know, produce in a way where he can help his teammates win, whether it be blocking the shot, rebounding, or making the extra pass. This is somebody who kind of fits the mold, that winning tradition that the Boozer twins already have, you know, set the guidelines for with them committing early. So, you know, Shelton would add to that. And, you know, if he decides to commit there, it could be a pretty big deal, you know, for Jon Scheyer and the staff.
All right, so Shelton Henderson joining or possibly joining the Blue Devils with Duke in their top 3 again, measured in according to 247 Sports at 6'6", 220. How does his game complement the Boozer twins?
Yeah, a dude who can make the extra pass, a dude who can really produce defensively and physically. He kind of will come in and do the work that, you know, most players wouldn't want to do just with his natural frame as it is. He's a guy who can guard multiple positions, and then he has a lot of upside, and I'm interested to see, you know, whatever school he goes to, how much better he gets during the offseason prior to his freshman campaign, because this is a guy who has made strides within his game, you know, on a year-by-year basis throughout his high school career.
I'm excited to see him possibly join the Brotherhood, and you said it seems like a November timeline, right? So just a few weeks away possibly from a decision. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Early November decision. And as I would say, you know, Duke seems like they are in the lead with his recruitment at this point.
Okay. So then who else? Give us some other names that you've heard kind of on as targets possibly.
Yeah, I got a chance to talk to Nikolas Khamenia, and he's down to a Final 5 of Duke, North Carolina, UCLA, Gonzaga, and Arizona. And talking with him, he seems like he is nearing a decision in his own right. He told me that he could be making a decision possibly within the next couple of weeks, but he doesn't look to extend this thing past the month of October. The schools that I'm looking at right here is Duke and UCLA. It'll just be interesting to see how this thing plays out moving forward. He's kind of kept it tight-lipped to this point, but you know, with Aristide recruiting going to Arizona, and North Carolina kind of fading away from the side of things, and Gonzaga getting an early visit last year, I see Duke and UCLA in the mix for his commitment as he nears a decision.
Okay, that would be awesome to get him to jump on board. Again, it's so fun to kind of project these things, not really knowing what next year's roster and scholarship count looks like beyond players that you assume would be one and done, and the guys that run out of college eligibility. Sion James and some of those guys come to mind for Duke when you look at next year's roster. But with that being said, Caden Lewis has been visiting Duke frequently. He was at Countdown to Craziness. Blue Devils appear to be in the running for him still. And then Nate Ament also there at Countdown to Craziness. What's kind of an update on those guys, Brandon?
Yeah, for sure. No true update, but I would like to think that the Cayden Boozer commitment has an effect on Cayden. I know he's one who is comfortable playing with the ball in his hand. So I'm looking at Kentucky as a leader here, just with the fact that they're still looking to take another guard, and with Cayden being a ball in hand guard who can, play alongside other like talent. I can see Kentucky pushing hard to earn his commitment. And then with Nate Ament, I know he's fresh off an official visit to Louisville, which is a pretty big deal. I know the Cardinal fans were excited about that one. But with him, I'm also looking at, does Cameron Boozer, affect his recruitment? I'm not sure when it comes to that regard, because I know Nate Ament has came along the high school ranks fancying himself as a big wing. So he probably views Cameron Boozer as somebody he can play alongside. There was a rumor that he wanted to, play with Shelton Henderson. We'll see if that actually comes into fruition. But, we're kind of at an undetermining factor when it comes to Nate Ament's recruitment, because he is so widely recruited and he hasn't really said much in terms of a list cut at this point. Outside of Louisville, I know he's taking an official visit to Texas, and I'm pretty sure Rodney Terry is, pitching the whole Kevin Durant spiel just with his past coaching, future Hall of Famer. So Nate Ament, somebody that he's kind of more interesting in the fact we can see the domino effect really, playing into his recruitment, and it'll be interesting to see where he ends up landing.
Yeah, he was at Countdown to Craziness for Shelton Henderson, so maybe more and more of that chatter of those guys teaming up could be something to be on the lookout for. All right, let's take our last break here on today's show, and then we will come back with more from Brandon Jenkins here on Locked On Blue Devils today. Locked On Blue Devils here today is brought to you by our friends at Roy. It's time to recognize the Roy Player of the Week. So far this season, we've pulled over $10,000 to support players on Roy. Micro deposits lead to massive change. With the Roy app, you can direct your support to athletes you love, ensuring that all funds go to the specific player you choose. Unlike collectives, you know exactly where your support is going, and you even receive exclusive content like personal videos and updates after the season. The best part, it's risk-free. If the athlete transfers or doesn't deliver the content, you get your money back. This week, there's no Duke football game, so I'm going to support a fellow ACC athlete in Jamal Haynes, the Georgia Tech running back. We pitched in $100, and I'd love for you to join me. Even $10 makes a difference. Jamal Haynes, massive, running for 170 yards and 2 touchdowns against those North Carolina Tar Heels. Much like Duke, he had a big game out of the backfield, and Roy helps you support the athletes. Already on Roy, any contribution to an athlete's campaign also gets you entered automatically. No purchase necessary. A big giveaway with 2 tickets could be won to a game in November. Just download Roy, create an account, and enter referral code Locked On. Roy, support the players, change the game. A proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. All right, Locked On Blue Devils here today. JJ Jackson alongside Brandon Jenkins of 247 Sports. Take a moment, if you will, man, and tell people a little bit about your work. What are maybe some stories that you've had recently, coming up soon? How can they get involved?
Yeah, just make sure that you follow us on 247 Sports. We have a lot of content coming with YouTube live commitments, articles on recruiting updates as these seniors get down to the nitty gritty. And then also we're preparing, for the signing day and different content that is fun with that. be sure to lock in with me at B Jenkins 24/7 and the whole crew on our 24/7 Sports account.
All right, so let's go back to the Boozer twins who commit and join Duke basketball. Since Jon Scheyer has taken over as head coach for Mike Krzyzewski, he's got 13 five-star commits. Can you put into words how impressive that is, just, about to start his third season as a head coach?
Absolutely. He just hit the ground running as soon as he took the job. And I think that's a testament to, how personable he is and how serious he takes the recruiting landscape. It seems like him and his staff hit their ability to connect with these guys on a consistent basis. I mean, it's a testament to the results that they've been getting on the recruiting show.
It's really impressive what he's been able to do year after year, going back to his days on Coach K's staff. Jay Lucas has been a name that we hear all the time coming up in the recruiting circles, and someone who's bound to be a head coach in his own right one of these days. Jeff Capel did great work when he was on staff at Duke. It feels like, as we know, Duke's a pretty easy brand to sell. And I don't hear enough people giving praise and love, Brandon, to Chris Carrawell and what he's done for the Duke basketball staff, a former player at Duke. And I mean, Sewell's out there on the recruiting circuit just as frequently as everyone else on the Duke staff, and a big part in why Duke's been so successful.
Now, it has to be a team effort when you're landing dudes of this magnitude. And like I said, man, they hit the ground running. They hit their stride, and I know they're pretty confident in what they're able to do. But it also is a testament to their work ethic. They don't back down from a challenge, and they're year in year they're just able to land the top recruiting classes in the country. So it's fun to see, and I'm interested to see how it turns out, especially with this upcoming class, this class of 2024.
Yeah, it's going to get started here in these next few days when the season gets going, with Duke basketball set to open up the 2024-2025 season. All right, before we go, kind of putting you on the spot here, but I know you're so involved in all of this. We've talked about these 2025 targets that Duke has their eye on. Duke lands Cooper Flagg. They get the Boozer twins. It's big game hunting often in the Brotherhood. As we look towards 2026, who are some of those big names that you would not be surprised at all if they're seriously considering playing basketball for Duke?
The one name that is fresh on my mind is Jordan Smith, a dude who ranks number 8 on our site, 6'3", long-armed guard he's just a beast on the defensive end. He sets the tone. He's very intense with his approach to the game, very athletic, and he kind of brings like a front court prospect's energy to the floor because he can rebound, he can guard multiple positions, and he just affects the game in so many ways. He attends Fairfax Paul VI Catholic, obviously where Darren Harris attended high school, and Patrick Ngongba. So I
could go on and on from there. Yeah,
I can see the pipeline continuing. He has an unofficial visit scheduled with Duke, I believe, in the beginning of November. So he's a name that stands out to me that can, keep the train rolling and make sure that the winners stay on top.
That's what we like to hear. Mika Miranin is a name that you've mentioned with us previously. I saw something maybe he's could consider reclassifying to 2025. I mean, you're all up to date on all of these players, Brandon.
Yeah, absolutely. I know Duke targeted him after his big Peach Jam run in July. And like you said, yes, he is a candidate to reclass to the 2025 class. So it'll be interesting to see if he elects to make that jump. I know the staff is, very intrigued by his ability to space the floor at that size. It'll just be interesting to see if the fit works, with the pieces that they're trying to land in 2025, or, Mika is willing to wait it out and come in the class of 2026. So it'll be interesting to see. I know he's taken a couple of unofficial visits in his own right. And so, I know that's one that Duke is really, locked in on.
Any other top names that come to mind possibly in 2026 to be on the lookout for?
Absolutely. I know Jay Lucas last year, he took the trip out to California to the Damien Classic to look at Brandon McCoy. He's one of the more widely recruited 2026 prospects, and he hasn't really, gave his fair share of who he will be visiting long term. So as long as Duke is interested, I would like to think that they would be in the mix. But yeah, we're talking about a 6'4" guard, very long arms, and he's a really gifted defender. And he is a high character teammate. He can play on and off the ball, and he has the personality that will bode well, in the Duke men's basketball program.
Well, we're going to continue following along on X at B Jenkins 247. So good to see you, Brandon. Always appreciate you taking time to join us. We'll do this again soon, okay?
Sounds perfect, my man. Thank you for having me on.
All right, that's Brandon Jenkins joining us here on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils. Really good stuff and recruiting insights. I know we all love that. I'm already excited for these next guys that Duke could possibly land out there in the recruiting world. All right, that's going to do it for our show here today. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and podcast feed. As always, go Duke. I'll talk to you tomorrow. My name is JJ Jackson. Thank you and good day.